Hello everyone, Kim the guy here. Do you exist? Yeah, you do. What kind of question is that? You can feel, you can touch, you can hear, you can listen. In fact, I am asking you this question because you exist, but seriously, do you really exist? I mean, out of your mind, do you exist? Let's begin from the ground, okay? The distance between the Earth and the Moon is 384,400 kilometers. You can fit in 30 Earths in between the two objects. Let's assume that the Moon has a stable atmosphere to create a medium for sound travel. Currently, you will struggle to hear claps and applauses when you are on the Moon because sound waves are longitudinal waves which requires a medium to travel. But let us assume that physics does not apply and then there is a vigorous volcanic eruption on the Moon. Normally on Earth, when something of that sort happens, it is usually very loud. We know it's loud because we can hear it. But given the massive distance between the Moon and the Earth, when an eruption happens, no one will grab a sound. Now here's my question. Did eruption make any sound when there was no one to listen or hear it? In 1910, a physics book by Charles Rieberman and George Ramson Swiss. I don't know why both of their names ended with double letters. They could just do well with just a single letters. They posted a question. When a tree falls in a lonely forest and no animal is nearby to hear it, does it make a sound? Why would such an easy question bother such great minds? How can it be that the tree did not make any sound? Of course it did. It just wasn't loud enough to reach the nearest animal. Easy. Case closed. But is it so? That question was as easy as it is for a beautiful woman to grab a free dinner from a random guy, according to George Berkeley, an Anglican bishop and a philosopher in 1883. George closed the case by, yes, the tree made a sound because God was there to listen. Fair enough, but let's just not introduce God factor. For the sake of this video, it really needs to last longer. And for the sake of physics, where God factor is never a rule. When a tree falls, the coalition of the tree and the ground creates a vibration, bumping into the nearby air molecules, which in turn bumps into the neighboring air molecules. This creates a wave of vibration. These waves enters your ears in a part called eardrum. The waves causes eardrum to vibrate, causing some tiny bones called ossicles to make motion, amplifying the vibration. Then the Eustachian tube equalizes the pressure between the air outside and that within the middle ear. The waves proceed to cochlea. The fluid in the cochlea moves in response to the vibration from the oval window. As the fluid moves, 2,500 nerves ending are set into motion, transforming the vibration into electrical impulses. Those electrical impulses travels to the brain, and the brain picks those signals and translates them into sound. That is when you hear. It's a process. It's just that it seems instantaneous to us. That means that sound is just a creation of our mind. So without us, there is no our brain, and without our brain, there is no sound, because sound is created by our brains. So that means that sounds are illusions. That's what we call things that only exist in our mind and not anywhere in the outside world. Just like dreams, imaginations, and memories, sounds do not exist. So the question is answered. The tree does not make any sound when it falls and there is no one to listen. And neither did the eruption on the Moon. There was no one to listen. What they did is just create vibration and nothing more. What I am telling you right now does not exist. The Moon does exist, of course, that's obvious, but What I'm saying is what I am saying isn't real. Just get out and leave the computer that you're using to listen to me, or maybe reduce the volume of your computer and just sit there. I'm assuring you what I am telling you right now will be meaningless without your brain being able to transform anything into a sound, because sounds are the creation of your mind. You are supposed to get this. I mean, that's why there is no way to tell whether an elephant trumpet sounds like a dog bark to you, but because everyone else calls it dog bark, so you call it dog bark, but it's an elephant trumpet to you. And you will never know because you are all alone in your brain. Your brain is creating something very unique, but you cannot know. Maybe
I sound like a woman to you, but because people say I sound like a man,
you agree with them. That is how your brain is translating the vibration that is coming out of my mouth. The sound of a bell ringing might be sounding in your ears just like the sound of a child crying, but just because everyone says that's a bell ring, you follow along. And the most frustrating thing is that no one will ever know, not even yourself, because you never get into somebody's mind and find out how those sounds are to them, and no one will ever get into your mind, find out how those sounds like. The same with colors. They do not exist. Maybe when you look at a blue object, you see a red one. But just because everyone calls that color red, you follow along and you call them red. And maybe that's why people have different favorite colors. I mean, maybe we all have the same favorite colors. It's just that we call it different names according to the translation of our mind. So just like sounds, colors are illusions. Colors are not really out there. In fact, without us, the world is colorless. I know it's hard to imagine that, just the same way you cannot be able to imagine a color that does not exist, or a color that you've never seen. Just try that for a second. Did you imagine it? Our brains translates lights, wavelengths, saturation, hue into colors, and it's clear that translation varies in different brains. Your mind is what you have, and most of what you think is real is created inside your mind and does not exist somewhere else. Colors, sounds, feels, feelings, pain, smell, and vision all exist in your mind. They are all illusion. Without you, they do not exist. In fact, they do not exist at all. What exists is a bunch of living things with big brains full of illusions. What you eat will taste the way your brain will decide, and how you feel when a bee stings you, it will still depend on your brain. Even if you use tools like telescope, microscope, or particle accelerators, everything starts and ends inside your brain. That is why it is very much impossible to prove that you are not the only one who exists, and everything around you, within you, in you, wherever you go, is just a creation of your fucking brain. I know you cannot readily accept this, but have you ever been in a dream that seems so real? There were people, tools, feelings like pain, fear, and even tools like taxis, train, and also friends or enemy. And when you woke up, you wondered, how in hell was that not fucking real? Well, it wasn't real. All of everything was a creation of your complex brain, and all of everything was inside that brain of yours. If a dream can be so real, how do you know that you're not dreaming right now, and that everything, even this video, is just a dream, and that the only thing that exists is your brain to project those illusions? It is technically impossible to prove that anything else apart from your mind exists, and it is impossible to escape yourself because that's all there is and nothing else. It is called egocentric predicament. If you think that is crazy, then solipsism is out of this world. Solipsism is the belief that only you exist and everything else is a creation of your mind. Even the sun, the moon, and friends and everything, they do not exist, they exist in your mind. That's a solipsistic person. According to Michael Vsauce, in his video, Is Anything Real?, states that there is no available way to convince a solipsist that the outside world is real. If you think a solipsist is crazy, then you might be the crazy one because you really have no idea what your brain is capable of. Your brain can create anything out of absolutely nothing. That is why when you are badly injured and you're bleeding heavily in your dream, your brain creates pain that is so real still in your dream, but everything abruptly disappears when you wake up. It has happened to me once or twice or maybe several times. That pain is not real. It was just created by your mind, and when you woke up, there was nothing. Anesthesiologist knows this great ability of your brain. That is why they can manipulate or seduce your brain using anesthetic and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. These drugs affect the form of receptor, preventing the signal for activating pain from being sent to the brain. They also block COX enzyme from communicating with your brain. During then, your brain knows that you should be feeling pain, but it cannot activate it. There are things and objects that exist independently, like maybe rocks, stars, planets, and galaxies. They do not need the projection of our mind to exist. They do exist and they still will when you're long gone, but they are silent, odorless, and colorless. They are also neither rough nor smooth. Anything in addition to the fact that they exist, that is an illusion because it will be coming out of your mind. But if you cannot provide a substantive evidence that your whole life is not a dream and that one day you will not wake up and realize, oh my God, Mars is your home planet, and ask yourself, how on Mars was that not fucking real? Then even planets, rocks, and stars might not be real. Just remember that I appreciate your time.